Hello, welcome to Nuts and Bolts. You're probably wondering why I'm in a hazmat suit. Well, stick around till after the intro.
San Diego Chargers are fortunate to have Lance Allworth.
On blue, ready?
Don Coryell.
Hello, history books. Touchdown, San Diego! Woo!
It's Friday night, and even though that there's a Raiders jersey in my apartment, and that's why I have a hazmat suit on right now, Tony, I'm still excited because I get to hop on the air with you and talk about some Chargers football. How you doing, Tony?
I'm doing great. Very happy to be here. Cheers and good evening to Aether. Aether, I'm not going to lie. I love showing up and seeing this chat fired up every week. It's absolutely fantastic. And it's kind of great. I think that the hazmat suit, it goes with the color. It looks nice. I love the commitment to the bit too, right? This is toxic. You have a Raiders jersey in your house and all precautions must be taken. You cannot be tainted with the silver and black. Keep the suit on for safety.
Yeah, and I joke about it and say that it's a bit, but I honestly am scared and disgusted to look over across the room and see that thing in a pile in the corner with a bunch of shit on top of it, but it's still there. It's still there. I know it's in that pile, and I'm going to give it away to a Raiders fan tonight. I know there's no Raiders fans tuned into this, but if you guys want to see which Raiders fan wins, or try and win the jersey yourself and then, like, shit on the Raiders fans or something with it, I don't know. Throw it in the dumpster, flush it down the toilet. I don't care what y'all do with it. But I'm giving it away to somebody tonight and getting it out of my house as soon as possible, so that way I don't have to wear this hazmat suit all around my place all day and night.
I love it. I think it's going to be funny. I hope people show up. It's going to be a spectacular. Brandon Mitchell in here. Derwin James will get the extension before the season. He's the leader of the team and way too involved off the field to not get that extension. We're going to be getting into that. We're going to be talking about Keenan Allen on the Drew Tranquil podcast. If you did not listen, shout out for Drew. It's a great podcast. He sits down with Keenan. And they talk about a lot of stuff that I want to get into, that I want to talk about. I found very interesting. That
was a great episode as well. It's one of my favorite episodes so far of the podcast. Aether, fire them comments away. We're here to answer them. You want to just jump straight into that first topic of the day? Keenan Allen on the Drew Tranquil podcast.
Yeah. We got the people here. And again, if you're here, if you're new here, hit the subscribe button. We're 2 away from 300. We really appreciate it. And the chat is open and free, and we want to talk and interact with other Chargers fans.
Two people. Y'all can do it. 300 today, this episode. Appreciate you guys for all the support. All right, here's the clip from the podcast specifically I wanted to talk about, Tony. Keenan Allen was asked what his thoughts were on the move from San Diego to L.A., and here's what he said.
I would say, like, back then, it was like, I think we got to leave San Diego because nobody would come to the games. It would be like, we play against the Broncos. It's only Broncos fans. It might be like a section. Maybe if I'm like not even exaggerating, you know how big Qualcomm was?
I don't know how big Qualcomm was, but I know how big.
Let's just say it's 65 to 80,000 fans.
Yeah.
15,000 is Charger fans.
Really?
Yeah.
So it was like the Dig. You remember the Dig?
No.
What was the stadium called? The LA Galaxy. StubHub.
StubHub. Yeah. It was like that. Yeah. When we played there and we played certain teams, it was just like we played Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah. I remember that.
There might be 100 Chargers fans here. The rest is Steelers. And it was
So, Tony, Keenan saying that he felt from his perspective, at least, the Chargers were kind of forced to move because of this fan problem. I haven't gotten your thoughts on this before, I don't think. Even off the air. I don't know if we've talked about this too much. So what are your thoughts in general, I guess, on the Chargers moving from San Diego to L.A.? It's definitely brought some pros, all the cons we saw, obviously, when the protests and everything were going on about the team moving, but we've seen the pros already in just a couple years. So what's your thoughts on it, Tony?
Yeah, so I have a different perspective, and this is why I don't really mix it up with a lot of Chargers fans about certain things when it comes to the San Diego, because I grew up a Packers fan, for anybody who doesn't know, and Favre was still on the team. My first game that I ever got to go to was in Qualcomm, and it was the Packers were 9-1. Like, it was just insane Green Bay fans. And the Chargers weren't very good at the time. Like, Drew Brees was kind of on the come up, and LaDainian Thomas was by far the best player on the team. So it was like, I was in that atmosphere, and I could see how that would be very discouraging. He's talking about having to always be on the silent count when you're at home. And that's why, like, I think it's a really, really great thing. If you can make it to SoFi for the opener against the Raiders, like, you should try and make it into the building, because, like, it's going to start off the year, division game. It's going to be loud and crazy. And it's like, the fans, it's important, right? Like, you're encouraging something that you care about, and you gotta be there to get them through, like, difficult moments, because at some point, all the money you make or whatever, like, you just need somebody else. You need fans, you need fanatics, crazy people screaming and cheering you through.
Yeah, people like us, right? We need more people like us out there at the Chargers game. Yeah, it's a big problem. The Chargers still dealing with it to this day. And the biggest thing that's going to fix it is winning a Super Bowl. I mean, the second you win a Super Bowl, you're going to increase your fan base by a ton. And in our situation, maybe double our fan base, depending on how many Chargers fans are actually out there. The Chargers have also suffered from having a scattered fan base, in my opinion. I feel like there's a lot of Chargers fans in Oregon. I feel like there's a lot of Chargers fans in LA. I think there's a lot of Chargers fans in San Diego. But they aren't all centered around one team like they are in Kansas City or something, where everyone is rooting for the Chiefs in this giant area. No, there's 49ers fans, Cowboys fans, Raiders fans, everyone mixed up in Southern California, and the Chargers fans are kind of just trying to make do and make it happen. But yeah, we definitely could be better about getting to the games. That's the con of moving from San Diego to LA, is how expensive it is to go to a game now. And you consider gas and the ticket and the parking. I mean, a trip from San Diego to go to a Chargers game in a cheap seat is like $1,000 for a family right now, or maybe even more, for one day, one weekend, one game. But in Qualcomm, you can go for $50. So it is a big issue. I didn't want the Chargers to move to LA when it was happening. In hindsight, even being an LA kid from LA, I didn't want them to move. But in hindsight, you can see the pros, free agency wise, and just in terms of what the players are getting as far as facilities and attention and all of this stuff. You can already see the massive impact that Los Angeles and the move to Los Angeles has had on the Chargers. And we saw it with the Rams too.
Yeah, Mike, I think that, so one thing is, like, so I lived in San Diego for a few years. The problem with the entire West Coast, right, is there's too much to do. There's too much time for the beach and the fun and just the hikes, and whatever you want to do, you can do it. So we're not as fanatical. But then you come to a place like LA, it's such a transplant city. Even in San Diego, a lot of the fans you'll see on there, they're like, I was in the Navy, and when I left, I fell in love with the Chargers. When I left that area, I moved back to wherever. So you'll meet a fan. It's like, wait, how did you become a fan from North Dakota? Oh, well, I was stationed out in San Diego for 4 years or whatever. So I get what you're saying, being sporadic. And I do believe that with winning, more fans will come in. I have my kids. Their first favorite team of anything has been the Lakers and the Chargers. I've been now and spent more time in LA, Southern California, than I ever did in the Midwest. So, like, my kids will be fun. They're looking forward to training camp, right? They went and picked out their shirts that they wanted to wear to go there and represent their team. So it's like, I think that these things kind of incrementally build up over time. But even Keenan said it in the podcast, which I thought was interesting, where he said, don't you think Justin Herbert is the reason we got the fans back? And I was like, oh, everybody gets it. If he'll say it out loud, like, Keenan's the leader. He's the veteran on this team, the player that's been there the longest. He gets it. Everybody else, like, they know what time it is.
Yeah, 100%. And I've noticed in my travels on the internet and travels in person, the Charger stuff, that I'm seeing a lot more young fans. And as these fans age, and they get into their teenage years and into their young adulthood, we're going to see things hopefully flip, and we'll see things get better at the stadiums themselves. But yeah, we just want to talk about that briefly. The main topic today, obviously, is Derwin's contract. But here we go. Theer's got a comment in here. I think this relates to Keenan Allen too, so it's a good time to talk about it. He wants to talk about Josh Palmer and how important he is to have a game changer at the slot, and what our thoughts are on that. I honestly think, and I like Josh Palmer out wide. I feel like he can work every part of the field. He can work the deep up the sidelines. He can work the post. He can work the underneath. I think our best move if Josh Palmer is developing into something nice, and especially if we see it in like the first 4 to 8 weeks of the year, is to move Keenan to the slot. I think that's our best move with Mike and Josh Palmer out wide, both deep threats. And you have Keenan underneath working the slot with Gerald Everett at tight end. I think that is our best lineup when everyone's healthy. What do you think about the slot position? Should it be Palmer?
I think the great thing about the Chargers having, in my estimation, the best well-rounded receiving core in the NFL, right? Like you look at, and we've talked about this before, like somebody who's going to win no matter what on third down, that's Keenan Allen. One of the best go up and get it receivers in Mike. And I believe that Josh can do everything well enough to where it doesn't matter where you put him. Mm-hmm. So it's like you'll be able to create whatever matchup you want. If you want to get Keenan, like you're like, oh, this slot corner is young and new and lost. Let's put Keenan on there and just put him in a spin cycle. And you can have Josh, who's still going to go outside and maybe be on a number one and still be able to get the advantage on him, depending on if it's like, you don't want to throw it Zay Howard or Tre'Davious White or something, let's say. But like the average one, I believe Palmer is going to smoke them. So like, I think they're at a good position where all these receivers are still so good. You don't have to commit them to one spot because Keenan's 6'3", Palmer's like 6'2", 6'3", Mike's 6'4", and we saw Mike expand the tree last year. Mike goes everywhere. So you have all this versatility. And then Guyton right there is coming up. And not to mention, bringing in a pinch in a slot, DeAndre Carter, dude's got a little bit of shake to him. Go watch some of his highlights when he gets down the field as a wide receiver. Now, I'm not saying he's going to play a ton, but you have depth at the position to really spread out and put players wherever you want. But I think Keenan at some point will benefit from being able to go to the slot.
Yeah, and that's also a next step in Herbert's development that he could possibly display next year. And he already displayed it last year a lot with Mike Williams and how he's able to use him in all different facets. But Herbert's ability to use all those receivers in all those different ways that we can use them that you're talking about, I agree. Not only do we have one of the best receiving cores in the league, I agree that we have probably the most versatile receiving core in the league. We have multiple guys on the roster, multiple guys in the wide receiver room that can do it all. And then we also have guys that can do what we need them to do. Like if we need Jalen Guyton to come in spots, we can get Jalen Guyton to come in spots. I feel like Herbert has a connection and trusts Jalen Guyton already. And that guy is going to be the guy coming off the bench. So I feel really good about the receivers up there. If it's Palmer in the slot, it's Palmer in the slot. If it's Keenan in the slot, it's Keenan in the slot. But I like the idea of them moving around as well, Tony. There's another comment here. Second comment. Murray is garbage and got $46 million a year. Herbert will get over 55. Let me hear this. And my opinion on this is maybe a little bit different than Chargers fans. If we do have to pay Herbert $50 million plus, which is what it's looking like, it's trending towards that direction, unless there's a Herbert and Herbert's agent taking a discount to help the team, which is a theory that we could talk about happening. But in reality, if we're really thinking about it from a player's perspective, Herbert's going to go for $50 million. Now, if you're going to sign someone to a $50 million contract and you're going to invest that much in them, I want that contract to be like, okay, Herbert, well, then you're a Charger for life. Whatever we got to do to make that happen. Or in a situation like where Mahomes in Kansas City, it seems like the only way he's getting out is if for some reason the team wants to trade him at some point, which we would never do with Herbert. Chiefs should never do with Mahomes, but we'll see how that all unfolds. Tony, what do you think about Herbert's upcoming contract? And then we can talk about Derwin's upcoming contract since we're on the topic.
It's so weird because as fans, we project like what we want to happen. Oh, I think Herbert's such a good guy. He's going to take this thing. It really is business. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, like, I don't think Herbert seems like genuinely the kind of guy who, if he only was like, hey, you're only going to make $3 million a year, he'd still be like, great, don't care. I just care about this, like playing football, which is amazing. But he's going to get crazy money. It's going to kind of hamstring the team a little bit. It's just the reality of it. And I think the last domino to fall will be Lamar Jackson. So what is Lamar going to do? Is Lamar going to push over the $50 million past Aaron Rodgers of the guaranteed money? If he does that this year, then yeah, we're probably looking at 55, 57 because the cap's going to go up again next year. I think it's supposed to go up 20% or $20 million, or I forget the numbers I read, but it's going to go up again. So there'll be a little more space. Quarterbacks are going to eat up a big chunk of that inflation. But does he sign before Burrow? Do him and Burrow have sort of a standoff at the same time? Which one's going to sign first? Because I want to reset the market a couple days later with my contract. Mm-hmm. And I think if there's a better chance that Herbert's just like, I don't even want to do that. Let's just get a deal done. as to where the Bengals notoriously, I mean, they lost Carson Palmer, who was a grown-up, who was a really good quarterback. Carson Palmer was really good, and they messed that up. So, like, I don't necessarily trust the Bengals to get it done that well. And, yeah, Herbert gets $56 million. He'll be worth every penny.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think that Tom Telesco is going to agree as well. We saw what he did with Phillip Rivers. He kept bringing Phillip Rivers back, even though Phillip Rivers was an older guy, still getting $25 million for 1-year deals and stuff towards the end of his time with Phillip Rivers. So I think that Tom Telesco understands what we have in Justin Herbert. And if it comes down to like what's the asking price, they're probably going to pay whatever Herbert asked for. And it is interesting, the Carson Palmer situation, because the Carson Palmer situation was kind of like an eye-opener for Bengals fans too. Like, oh no, all of a sudden we have a good quarterback. All of a sudden we're good. And then blink and he's gone. Could that happen with Burrow? I'm not saying I hope it happens. I'm just saying let's just keep it on the mind.
So I don't think that'll happen. Yeah, but I could see him not being happy there, right? Like, how do you have Jesse Bates do so well for you and then you're not into it? You don't want to get the deal done? Like, I don't understand how he played so well. How do you not pay him?
And they told him, basically. They drafted a guy in the first round. They said, hey, your time is numbered. You better win the Super Bowl next year with us. But it's okay, Jesse. There needs to be 2 safeties in the field all the time, right? I'm just saying. You want to come over to LA with everyone else?
Nas is about the ball. Nas and JT Woods. We're loaded at safety right now.
We're loaded everywhere. Everywhere. All right, Athir's bringing it in. Starting to talk about numbers. The biggest thing that I saw recently in the news about the Derwin James thing is, one, that the Chargers are positive and are expecting to sign Derwin before the season starts. We talked about it multiple times. We were worried about Derwin going into the year without a deal at the risk that he would be taking doing that. And 2, Derwin James came out on Twitter and said him damn self that he will be at camp, he'll be playing in the games, and that his agents will figure out the contract, which I love to hear. He's not doing no holdouts. We're going to see him on day 1 on the 27th out there at practice. He's probably still rehabbing the injuries and stuff from the last season, but we're going to see Derwin James on the field for camp. He's not holding out because of the contract situation. And I love to hear that, because that tells me how dedicated Derwin James is to the Chargers and how much he wants to be a Charger for his career. And I think he's going to get a 5-year deal like Athir is pointing to here. He's going to get the biggest contract in safety history. And let's just see how Tommy Telesco plays with the cap hit. That's the biggest thing. We're going to see if he can keep the cap hit down, but still give Derwin his money and signing bonuses and everything else that they do. But Tony, what are you thinking for these figures? I think he's going to get $1 more than Minkah Fitzpatrick, but we'll see.
I think he's going to get more, and he should, and he's earned it. And anybody who's like, oh, I'm worried about it. Brandon Staley said, I want to build a team. I want to build a defense around this guy.
Exactly.
You don't make that kind of statement and then not bring that player back. You don't hire a defensive coach and then be at odds with the best player on the defense. Like, that's just not winning football. That's not organizationally going to help you. So the deal's going to get done. I'm uncomfortable talking about other people's money or whatever, or how much they should get paid or will get paid. But at the end of the day, like, he's going to be a very rich man and he deserves every penny. And I can't wait for Chris Canty memes to come up. The 5th most overrated player in the NFL. Craig Canty. I know you're a big dude, but let's talk. Let's have a conversation.
100%. I'm with you. I mean, whatever the figure ends up being, the figure ends up being. They can go ahead and handle that. I'm with paying Derwin James big money to stay a Charger. That's the basis. You're with it. I'm with it. I feel like most of the Chargers fan base is with it. When you think about what he went through in 2019 and 2020, he played 5 games at the end of the year in 2019 after missing most of the year because of a camp injury, and then tears his knee up in camp the following year. That's 2 years gone out of this young man's career, and he came back from 2 injuries with little time on the field. You know how hard that is and how demoralizing that is to come back from a major injury and then get injured in like your first time back on the field at practice too, not even in a game. That is so demoralizing. And that's something that could end a young man's career and end a young man's development. But Derwin James came out last year in 2021 and somehow through both those injuries still looked better than he did his rookie year when he won Defensive Rookie of the Year and was an All-Pro as a rookie. And he got absolutely snubbed from at least the second-team All-Pro team, but he should have been first-team All-Pro when they did the All-Pro selections this year. I'm very impressed with what Derwin did last year to a point where I am very confident in re-signing him. Even if we lose Derwin for 2 games here, 2 games there, he's still worth the money.
Mike, there's no question that he's going to be worth it. I think that there is something different about this team and the way that they're doing things and managing injuries and players and veterans, and like even they're shutting him down. Like they're doing the right thing. In that Chiefs game, Derwin wanted to be out there, and they were just like, "Nah, you can't do this." Oh, you want to come back for this game? Nah, take an extra week. Asante, take an extra week. And that's the importance of what's happened and the depth that's been built on this roster, is that you can be able to do that. You can say, hey, just let's be cautious. We'll take an extra week or 2 or whatever. To ask these people to play these crazy games, they're getting in car accidents every week for 5 months a year with their buddies. Like, if they miss a few games, I'm good with it. Like, I want them to be healthy. I want them to be able to be parents and members of the community and be around to win many, many Super Bowls.
100%. He didn't win Defensive Rookie of the Year. Oh, yeah. He got robbed of Defensive Rookie of the Year. My bad. He should have won Defensive Rookie of the Year. Thank you, Israel, for fact-checking me. But, yeah, I think I'm definitely in on a Derwin James extension. I'm waiting on Athir's question here. I'm really interested to see what it is. He has a question about training camp because that's what we were going to talk about for our final topic of the show. We will be at training camp on Wednesday. I think the Chargers Unleashed guys are going. A couple other Chargers podcast members are going, so we'll probably link up with them and say what's up. I know a lot of people over on TikTok have pinged me and said, hey, I'm going on 27th. When are you going? And I go, the 27th. A lot of people are going to be there. A lot of Chargers fans are going to be there. But Tony, which player, and we've talked about this already, but which player you got your eyes on most? And I'll give you mine, even though I've already spoiled it probably.
I think it's because I want to go with like the rookies, right? Because I think that they're going to show up and they're going to be hyped. There's going to be fans there for them to, they're trying to get in and prove stuff. And it will be the first day of camp. But I think that I'm really most excited to see JT Woods and see how fast he is in real life, right? Like him, because I really like the DBs. I'm a big fan of Jasir Taylor. I just think when we go to the preseason game against the Rams, I can't wait for him to get out there and get snaps and play. I think he's going to be fantastic. But I think JT Woods, just seeing how fast he is, that those kind of things are exciting to me. So like that's something I'm going to be watching for.
I'm with it. Yeah, my guy's ASJ, so I'm looking at the secondary also. But I was going to bring up Isaiah Spiller. I really am excited to see what they're doing with Isaiah Spiller in the backfield. Of course, he's going to be running the drills with the running backs. But last year we saw Austin Eckler working separate in camp than the rest of the running back room. I'm wondering if we see the same thing out of Austin Eckler this year, or if we see Austin Eckler with the team now that it feels like we have an RB2 that we're going to be behind. And Austin Eckler's not going to be taking a brunt of the load. I know why they were doing it. They were doing it to keep Austin Eckler healthy. They're doing light work with him and not keeping him with the rest of the running backs banging in between the tackles at practice. But yeah, I'm excited to see the team practice and what Isaiah Spiller does in the team practice. I don't know if they're putting on pads the first day. Are they? Probably not.
I don't think so, but it's fine. Like it doesn't really matter. Like for the young guys, I think it probably does, but for these older guys, like we already saw it, like, yeah, they didn't take any hits. They didn't do anything. Like even when we were at FanFest, it was like they didn't allow any. There's no real contact going on, and I think that helped. It was a pretty good year for injuries last year. Like it was a plus year. So I think managing that is going to be the same moving forward. I like the way they did it last year. If he does it similar again this year, I'll be happy. I do think there's some more battles to figure out, right? Like, don't you kind of want to see Trey out there at right tackle and just seeing, Bosa or Mac just saying, hey, you worked hard this offseason, but you got a couple more weeks to go. Like let's really step it up.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of buzz around Trey Pipkins, and coaching staff and stuff are giving him kind words. So let's see it. Yeah. Maybe he's ready. And maybe we'll be like very confident leaving camp. Like, okay, Trey's ready. we don't need to worry because he just blocked Khalil Mack and blocked Joey Bosa 3 out of 5 times, which would be a very good rate for Trey.
Yeah, and it'll be good. I really like. So I sent you that thing. They brought in the guy from the Pittsburgh Maulers. They gave him like a camp style contract. Other guys in that edge rushing room, Jamal Davis, the guy who looks like an action figure. It's like you look the part. Are you going to be able to get out there and camp and do something? Xander Horvath is another one where it's like he's getting bigger and stronger. How is he going to be used? I'm looking forward to that for, that's more preseason games. I want to see how that's deployed, but I think it'll just be fun. And more than anything, for me, it's about like the support. Like I want those guys to be like, oh, there's fans. Like the Chargers have a base, a community of people that want to see them thrive. Like I'm going to drive 85 miles for a 2.5-hour practice to watch other people run around. Like I want them to know like, hey, let's go. I love it. Beautiful.
Yeah. I'm excited to see all the fans that are going to be there. I think it's going to be a packed house compared to last year's camp. That would be better. Coach Daly calls the defense, is what Athir's commenting here. Plays in training camp battles. How serious will he take it knowing he's going against Herbert? Oh, he's going to take it serious. Athir, if you've never been to a training camp before, I think you said you're from Michigan, so probably not. Herbert's untouchable, so you don't got to worry about like Herbert getting hit or anything like that. He's going to be wearing the red jersey, and they will not touch Herbert. Herbert doesn't even wear leg pads at practice because he's just throwing the ball. He's not doing anything else. If he rolls out or if he runs, they're not allowed to tackle him. They just let him run. That's all. But as far as the secondary going against Herbert, it's perfect because iron sharpens iron. There is not a secondary with as many ball hawks as our secondary has. So if Herbert is looking good and doing good against this secondary, we know he's going to cook up that Vegas ass secondary that they got out there where Nate Hobbs is leading it out the slot corner. So I think that iron sharpens iron. I think that Staley should keep the intensity up on defense and test Herbert and put Herbert in the fire a little bit. Maybe throws a few interceptions and learn some lessons in camp against some of these better secondaries we're going to see in the league. But the Chargers right now, when it comes to ball hawks and guys that can disrupt plays, probably have the most in the league. So if Herbert does well in camp, then I think we can trust him during the season. Joe's asking if it's raining. No, this is a hazmat suit, Joe. This is not a raincoat. But I can see the confusion.
I thought he was talking about me. I thought he was talking about me sweating my ass off over here. I was like, oh. He was like, no, Joe, my garage is just 109 degrees right now. But I'm dealing with the heat so that I can have the background. That's what I'm doing.
Maybe I should go for a jog, turn this into a sweatsuit in the rain. It's also a raincoat, and it keeps me safe from the Raiders jersey. It's all-purpose suit.
Let's get to Athir's question, then we'll get out of here so you can go and you can deal with that awful jersey to get rid of.
I'm waiting for
one
Athir.
more.
Final question, Athir. We will wait for you, Athir.
No, I think you already put it in. It's right here. It is.
Oh, I already read this one. That's about the training camp, how serious he'll take it going against Herbert.
Oh, yeah. It is. Sorry.
It's all good.
It's not going to. Like, if anything, they'll have one of these third or fourth string guys that'll be like, hey, you're probably not making the team. Well, I know you're not making the team because we're going to have Chase and as the backup. So they'll get out there. They'll let them do it. I do think it'll be interesting to see what they do with like figuring out the guard play, right? With Zion, you've got Sawyer, the tackle situation. Like, do they allow like Fehoko and Fox and Gaziano or Covington or whoever's on that? I'm blanking on the other name. Tillery. Like these guys, are they going to allow those guys a little bit of like, hey, test these kids? That's what I want to see. Like test the younger players on the team and see how they do with it.
Yeah, I think that they will. And there's so many battles for depth spots on a Super Bowl roster. So it's going to be intense at that level. Those guys battling for the final edge rusher spot, those guys battling for the final running back in the running back room, those guys battling for the final wide receiver spot after Guyton, whatever it might be, and it's going to be a war in the preseason and in camp between a lot of those younger players that you just mentioned, especially on the lines. Both lines, I feel like, have so much depth where we're going to see some players that started last year possibly go to the practice squad. I'm excited to see which ones do and which ones prevail, which ones come out and show their stuff, because there's an axe. There's an axe in this roster. There's enough depth to axe some people, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that I don't exactly know how that works, but I think there's some players that could be getting poached if they were said, hey, you didn't make the 53-man roster, you're going to go on the practice squad. I could see some teams coming in and swooping up some of these players. It'll also be interesting to see, like, there's a couple players where, like, maybe they start looking around like, hey, can I get a 6th round? Can I get some sort of conditional pick for this player or whatever? Because other younger players start to rise, and they know that person that's been there 3 or 4 years might not make the squad. So why not try and get something future out of it?
Yeah, or maybe you realize that you have so much depth that it's like, okay, well, let's try and deal like a Jerry Tillery or something, and get something for him while we can. I think that he needs to put some play on the field though to bring his value up. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting what they do.
I know. I was like, I'm not gonna say any names. I'll let Mike do it if you want.
It'll be
Friday shows are officially going to be Chargers pep rally here at Nuts and Bolts. I'm going to be on full tilt, just going nuts, hyping them up. Everybody. I'll be screaming for Nick Neiman.
Yeah, Nick Neiman. I served with someone that went to high school with Nick. So Nick, if you see me out there, be like, hey, do you know? Nah, never mind. You don't know his name. But the fear. We answered your question, man. Rewind the show a little bit. We answered it. I put it on the screen and everything. Appreciate everyone for tuning in this week. Short episode because I got to go over and deal with all these Raiders fans. If you guys want to come and give me some support, please do. It's the NFL Mike TikTok page, live at 5:30 Pacific Standard Time. I'm not looking forward to it at all. No.
Yeah. Well, I will say this, on next week's show, we'll have already gone to training camp, but we might also have to break it to the viewers of Nuts and Bolts that Mike had to don a Raiders jersey. And I don't care how great that player is. Could be the worst.
Yeah.
We got to get out of here. We're about to be invaded.
All right. We're out. See you guys later. Subscribe. Like the video. We need 2 more subscribers as well to hit 300. Appreciate everyone tuning in. We out of here.